The stars burned cold in the vacuum of space as Kian's ship drifted through the emptiness, its engines humming softly. The year was 2350, and humanity had scattered across the galaxy like dandelion seeds in the wind. Most colonies had maintained contact with Earth's central government, but some had gone silent during the Great Interstellar War. As a space explorer tasked with finding these lost colonies, Kian had spent the last 5 years searching the void. His ship's console beeped softly, interrupting his thoughts. A faint signal, barely distinguishable from background radiation, pulsed from a distant planet in an uncharted system. According to his database, this region had been evacuated during the alien empire's expansion. No human settlement should exist here. Curious, Kian muttered, adjusting his course. His ship, the Pathfinder, was small but equipped with the latest stealth technology, if there were survivors. He needed to approach carefully. The aliens who had driven humanity to the edges of known space might still be monitoring these sectors. As he entered the planet's atmosphere, Kian noted the harsh environment below. Vast deserts stretched across most of the visible landmass, interrupted occasionally by rocky mountains and what appeared to be dried riverbeds. Conditions looked barely habitable, yet the signal persisted, pulsing from somewhere within a canyon network. Kian landed the Pathfinder on a plateau overlooking the canyon. The air outside was breathable but thin, with a constant wind that carried fine dust particles. He donned his exploration suit, more from habit than necessity, and stepped onto the planet's surface. The signal led him down a winding path into the canyon. As he descended, Kian noticed subtle signs of habitation, worn paths, strategic rock arrangements that seemed too deliberate to be natural, and, eventually, what appeared to be camouflaged observation posts. "Hello?" he called out, his voice carrying through the canyon. "I'm Kian Reeves, explorer from Earth Central. I'm here on a peaceful mission." Silence answered him, but he felt watched. Continuing forward, he reached a section of the canyon where the walls narrowed. Suddenly, figures emerged from hidden crevices, surrounding him with weapons drawn. They were human, but something about them seemed off. Their skin had a slightly different hue. Their eyes were larger than normal, and they moved with an unnatural grace. "Stop where you are," commanded a tall woman with silver-streaked hair. "You shouldn't be here. No one from Earth should ever have found us." "I mean, no harm," Kian replied, raising his hands slowly. "I've been searching for lost colonies for years. Your signal led me here." "Signal?" The woman exchanged glances with the others. "We maintain a strict emissions blackout. There was no signal." Before Kian could respond, another voice spoke from behind the group. "Bring him to the council, Vela. They need to see this." The group escorted Kian deeper into the canyon, eventually reaching a massive cavern entrance hidden behind a holographic projection of solid rock. Inside, Kian discovered an entire underground city, a marvel of engineering and adaptation. Dwellings had been carved into the cavern walls, illuminated by bioluminescent plants that cast an ethereal blue glow throughout the space. Water flowed through a complex system of channels, and terraced gardens grew food under artificial light. People stopped their activities to stare as Kian passed. Children were quickly ushered inside homes, and worried whispers followed in his wake. These people were clearly terrified of his presence. The council chamber was a circular room at the heart of the cavern city. 7 individuals sat in a semicircle, each with the same unusual physical characteristics Kian had noticed earlier. The central figure, an elderly man with completely white hair but a surprisingly youthful face, studied Kian with intensity. "I am Leader Thorn," he introduced himself. "You claim to be from Earth Central, yet you found us when no one should have been able to—" "How?" Kian explained his mission and the mysterious signal that had led him to their location. As he spoke, he noticed the council members exchanging meaningful glances, as if communicating silently. "He doesn't know," one of them finally said. Doesn't know what? Kian asked. Leader Thorn sighed. You will be confined to guest quarters while we decide what to do with you. Vela will ensure your needs are met. But do not attempt to communicate with anyone else or leave your assigned area, as Vela led him away. Kian asked, What are you hiding? Why are you so afraid of contact with Earth? You wouldn't understand, she replied curtly. And if you did, you'd wish you hadn't come here. The guest quarters were comfortable but sparse, a small room carved into the cavern wall with basic furnishings and no technology beyond simple lighting. Kian sat on the bed, trying to make sense of what he'd seen. These people were clearly descendants of human colonists, but they seemed almost like a different species now, and their fear of discovery was palpable. Hours later, a soft knock interrupted his thoughts. When he opened the door, a young woman stood there, glancing nervously over her shoulder. My name is Lan, she whispered. I want to help you understand. Unlike the others, Lan seemed genuinely curious about Kian rather than fearful. She had the same physical differences, slightly iridescent skin that shifted hues with her emotions, larger eyes with an unusual amber color, and movements that seemed too fluid to be entirely human. The council is debating whether to erase your memories or... She hesitated. Ensure you never leave to tell others about us. Kill me. You mean... Kian said flatly. Some believe it's necessary. We've survived here for generations by remaining hidden. Lan sat down across from him. But I think you deserve to know the truth before they decide. According to Lan, their colony had been established during the early days of the Interstellar War, nearly a century ago. The harsh conditions on the planet made it unsuitable for the alien empire's needs, providing a perfect hiding place for humans fleeing the conflict. But survival here was nearly impossible, she explained. The radiation levels, the atmospheric composition, the gravity, everything was just wrong enough to slowly kill us. The colony's chief scientist had proposed a radical solution, genetic modification to adapt humans to the planet rather than terraforming the planet to suit humans. The modifications began small, enhanced lung capacity, improved radiation resistance, more efficient water retention. But with each generation, the changes became more pronounced. We're still human, Lan insisted, though her iridescent skin betrayed her uncertainty as it shifted to a deep blue. But we've changed in ways that go beyond physical appearance. What do you mean? Kian asked. Lan hesitated, then closed her eyes in concentration. Suddenly, Kian felt a gentle pressure in his mind, like fingers rifling through his thoughts. He jerked back in shock. You're telepathic, he gasped. Not exactly, she replied. We can sense emotional states and surface thoughts with physical contact or extreme concentration. It was an unexpected development from neural adaptations meant to help us communicate during dust storms. Before she could explain further, the door slid open. Leader Thorn stood there with 2 guards, his expression unreadable. The council has reached a decision, he announced. Come with us. Lan shot Kian a worried glance as the guards escorted him back to the council chamber. This time, the room was filled with colony members, all watching Kian with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Kian Reeves, Leader Thorn began formally. We find ourselves in an unprecedented situation. For generations, we have hidden from both the alien empire and from unmodified humans. Your discovery of our colony threatens everything we've built. Another council member spoke up. The signal you detected was not a communication beacon. It was a side effect of our genetic stabilization field, technology we use to manage the more extreme manifestations of our adaptations. What kind of manifestations? Kian asked. Leader Thorn's eyes narrowed. That is precisely the information we cannot allow to return to Earth. Humanity's history is riddled with fear and persecution of those who are different. If Earth learned what we've become, what would happen to us? I'm not your enemy, Kian insisted. I was sent to find lost colonies, to reconnect humanity, not to judge or threaten you. Your intentions may be pure, Leader Thorne acknowledged, but you represent a system that would see us as abominations. The modifications we've made to survive have changed us fundamentally. Some would call us no longer human. Kian looked around at the gathered colonists. Despite their differences, he saw humanity in their expressions: hope, fear, resolve, curiosity, whatever changes they had undergone. They were still people. "Show me," he said simply. "Show me what you're hiding, and let me decide for myself." A murmur ran through the crowd. Leader Thorne consulted silently with the other council members, that strange telepathic communication passing between them. Finally, he nodded. "Very well. Lan, as our most controlled adept, we'll show him." Lan stepped forward, her skin shifting to a nervous yellow hue. "Are you sure about this?" Kian nodded, and Lan placed her hands on either side of his face. The gentle pressure in his mind returned, but stronger this time. Suddenly, images and sensations flooded his consciousness. Generations of genetic modification, children born with unexpected abilities. The colonies struggled to contain and understand what they were becoming. He saw colonists who could manipulate the electrical impulses in machinery with their thoughts. Others who could perceive radiation spectrums invisible to normal human eyes, and some who could even influence the growth patterns of the bioluminescent plants that sustained the colony. But most disturbing were the failed adaptations. Individuals whose mutations had progressed beyond control. Their bodies and minds transformed into something unrecognizable. These colonists were kept in a separate section of the cavern system, cared for but isolated from the main population. When Lan broke the connection, Kian staggered backward, overwhelmed by what he'd seen. "Now you understand," Leader Thorne said quietly. "We are becoming something else, not by choice, but by necessity. Each generation is born with stronger abilities and more pronounced physical changes. The genetic stabilization field is the only thing preventing uncontrolled mutation. But that's not all you're hiding." Kian realized, the final pieces falling into place. There's something else. Something about human origins. The council chamber went completely silent. Leader Thorne's expression hardened. "You saw more than you should have." "The research data I glimpsed." Kian pressed on. "Your scientists discovered something about human DNA, something that contradicts everything we believe about our species' evolution." "It's merely a theory," one of the council members interjected hastily. "Unproven speculation based on our unique perspective of watching directed evolution in action." "Tell me," Kian demanded. After a long pause, Leader Thorne sighed deeply. "Our genetic modifications revealed something unexpected. Human DNA contains sequences that appear to be engineered, subtle markers that don't follow natural evolutionary patterns. As we manipulated our own genome, these sequences became more apparent." "What are you saying?" Kian asked, though he already suspected the answer. "We believe that humans may have been genetically engineered in the distant past," Leader Thorne stated flatly. "The same way we are engineering ourselves now. If true, it means humanity's origin story, our very understanding of ourselves as a naturally evolved species, is a lie." The implications were staggering. If humans had been created or modified by some ancient intelligence, it would rewrite history and fundamentally alter humanity's place in the universe. No wonder the colony kept this theory secret. It would cause philosophical and religious upheaval throughout human civilization. "This is why we hide," Lan explained softly. "Not just because of what we've become, but because of what we've discovered about what all humans might actually be." Kian spent the next several days exploring the colony under Lan's guidance. He witnessed both the remarkable achievements and the terrible costs of their genetic experimentation. The colonists had created a functioning society despite their isolation, with systems for education, healthcare, and governance. but the shadow of their continuing transformation hung over everything. In the research facilities, scientists worked tirelessly to stabilize the colony's genome, to find a balance between beneficial adaptations and dangerous mutations. Kian reviewed their data, confirming that the changes were accelerating with each generation. "The youngest children show abilities we never anticipated," explained Dr. Elara, the colony's chief geneticist. "Some can perceive quantum fluctuations or communicate with each other across great distances without speaking. We're approaching a tipping point where we may become something truly post-human." "Can't you stop the modifications?" Kian asked. "We've tried," Dr. Elara replied, her skin shifting to a regretful gray. "But the changes have become self-perpetuating. The modified genes have developed mechanisms to protect themselves, almost like an immune response against any attempt to normalize them." In the evening, Kian would sit with Lan on a high terrace overlooking the cavern city, discussing the colony's future. Despite their dire situation, he found himself drawn to her perspective, her ability to see beauty in their transformation rather than just fear. "Not everything about our changes is negative," she told him one night, her skin glowing a soft pink in the dim light. "We understand each other in ways unmodified humans never could. When I connect with another person's mind, I experience their emotions, their memories, their essence. There's an intimacy to it that words can never achieve." "But at what cost?" Kian asked. "Some of your people have lost their humanity entirely." Lan's expression darkened. "What is humanity, Kian? Is it defined by our DNA, our appearance, our abilities? Or is it something deeper, our capacity for compassion, creativity, connection?" The question haunted Kian as he continued his investigation. In the secure ward where the most extremely mutated colonists lived, he met individuals whose bodies had transformed beyond recognition, but whose minds remained conscious and aware. Some communicated through telepathic links, sharing profound insights about existence that their unique perspectives had granted them. Meanwhile, the council continued to debate his fate. Leader Thorne advocated for erasing Kian's memories of the colony, while others argued for more permanent solutions. Lan fought for a third option, letting Kian leave with his memories intact but sworn to secrecy. "He understands our situation," she argued during a council session that Kian attended. "He could be an ally, someone who could gradually prepare Earth for eventual contact." "Too risky," countered another council member. "If Earth learns of our existence, they'll either want to cure us or exploit our abilities. Both would destroy what we've built." As the debate continued, alarms suddenly blared throughout the cavern. The colony's perimeter sensors had detected a ship entering the atmosphere. Not Kian's Pathfinder, but a larger vessel of unknown origin. "It followed you here," Leader Thorne accused, his face contorted with rage. "You led them straight to us." "Impossible," Kian protested. "My ship's stealth systems are state-of-the-art. No one could have tracked me." Dr. Elara rushed into the council chamber with a data tablet. "It's an automated probe from Earth Central," she reported. "Advanced model, programmed to follow any explorer ship that goes offline for more than 30 standard days." Kian realized his mistake. In his excitement at finding the colony, he'd forgotten to send his routine status updates to Earth Central. The automated systems had dispatched a probe to investigate his prolonged silence. "The probe will record everything," he explained urgently. "It's designed to document any findings and return the data to Earth Central. If it detects your colony, everyone will know you're here." Panic spread through the council chamber. Some advocated immediate evacuation. Others suggested destroying the probe. But Dr. Elara shook her head grimly. "The probe will have already transmitted our location. Destroying it would only confirm that we have something to hide." "Then we have no choice," Leader Thorne declared. "We must implement the Omega Protocol." The words sent a wave of dismay through the assembled colonists. Lan grabbed Kian's arm, her skin turning ashen. "No, there must be another way." "What's the Omega Protocol?" Kian demanded. "A last resort," Leader Thorne explained, his voice heavy. "We collapse the cavern entrances and activate the deep shelters. The genetic stabilization field will be reconfigured to create a sensory distortion barrier that will make this entire area appear uninhabitable to outside scans. But doing so will accelerate our genetic changes exponentially. You'd sacrifice your stability to remain hidden?" Kian was aghast. "We'd sacrifice everything to protect our people." Leader Thorne replied firmly. "The Council has spoken. Omega Protocol begins immediately." As the colonists hurried to implement the protocol, Kian pulled Lan aside. "There's another option," he said urgently. "Let me intercept the probe. I can override its programming, make it report that this planet is empty." "How?" Lan asked, hope flickering in her eyes. "I have the command codes as an official explorer. I can order it to abort its mission and return to Earth with false data." Leader Thorne overheard their conversation and approached, skepticism evident in his expression. "And why would you help us this way? What do you gain?" Kian met his gaze steadily. "Because what you've discovered about human origins, about our potential for change, it deserves to be revealed carefully, not exposed by an automated probe. And because your people deserve the right to determine their own future." After a tense deliberation, the Council agreed to Kian's plan. He would take his ship to intercept the probe in orbit, while the colony made preparations for the Omega Protocol as a backup measure. As Kian prepared to leave, Lan accompanied him to the surface. The harsh wind whipped around them as they stood beside the Pathfinder. "If you succeed, what then?" she asked. "Will you return to Earth and forget about us?" Kian shook his head. "I could never forget. But I don't know what the right answer is. Should humanity know about your colony, about the theory of our engineered origins? These truths could tear apart everything we believe about ourselves. Perhaps some truths need to be approached gradually," Lan suggested. "You could plant seeds, subtle research papers, theoretical discussions that prepare the scientific community for eventual revelations. And what about you, all of you?" Kian gestured toward the hidden colony below. "Your transformations are accelerating. What happens when you evolve beyond all recognition?" Lan's skin shifted through a kaleidoscope of colors as she considered the question. "We become something new," she said finally. "Whether that's still human or not doesn't matter as much as whether we maintain our compassion, our creativity, our connection to each other." Kian nodded slowly. "I'll intercept the probe, and then I'd like to come back, to help document what's happening here, to serve as a bridge between your colony and Earth, when and if you're ever ready for that connection." "The Council may not agree," Lan warned. "Then I'll have to convince them," Kian replied with determination. "What's happening here is too important to be lost or hidden forever." With a final goodbye, Kian boarded the Pathfinder and launched into orbit. The probe was easy to locate, a sleek, automated vessel methodically scanning the planet's surface, using his Explorer authorization codes. Kian established a connection and began the process of overriding its programming. As he worked, he contemplated the magnitude of what he'd discovered. Not just a lost human colony, but potentially the truth about humanity's origins and a glimpse of its possible future. The colonists' genetic modifications had opened doors that normal human evolution might never have reached, for better or worse. The probe accepted his override commands, its scan incomplete. Kian programmed it to return to Earth with data indicating the planet was uninhabitable and devoid of human presence. As the probe accelerated away, he opened a communication channel to the colony below. "The probe has been redirected," he reported. "As far as Earth Central will know, this planet is empty." Relief flooded through the response from Leader Thorne. "Then we remain hidden, for now. What will you do?" "Explorer Kian?" Kian gazed at the barren surface of the planet that concealed so many secrets. With your permission, I'd like to return. There's much I could learn from your people, and perhaps ways I could help with your research." After a long pause, Leader Thorn replied, "The Council will need to discuss this, but you have proven yourself trustworthy today. Return to the colony, and we will talk about the future, both yours and ours." As Kian guided the Pathfinder back to the surface, he reflected on the impossible choice before him. The truth about human origins, if the colony's theory was correct, could shatter religious doctrines, historical understanding, and humanity's very self-conception. Yet concealing such knowledge felt equally wrong. And what of the colonists themselves? Their continuing transformation might represent humanity's next evolutionary step, or a dangerous deviation that could end in tragedy. Did he have the right to influence their path? Landing once more on the plateau, Kian was greeted by Lan and several council members. Their expressions were solemn but no longer hostile. "We've reached a compromise," Leader Thorn announced. "You may stay with us for 1 Earth year. Study our condition, our research, our society. At the end of that time, we will jointly decide what information, if any, should be shared with Earth." "And in exchange?" Kian asked, sensing there was more. "In exchange, you will help us understand what we're becoming," Dr. Elara explained. "Your outside perspective might see patterns we've missed, might help us direct our transformation rather than merely reacting to it." It wasn't a perfect solution. The colony would remain hidden, their existence a secret from the rest of humanity. The profound questions about human origins would go unanswered in the wider scientific community. But it was a beginning, a tentative bridge between two branches of humanity that had diverged more dramatically than anyone could have anticipated. "I accept," Kian said, extending his hand to Leader Thorn, who hesitated before shaking it. As they descended once more into the hidden cavern city, Lan walked beside Kian. "You're making the right choice," she said softly. "We need time to understand what we're becoming before we reveal ourselves to the world." "And if what you become is no longer human?" Kian asked. Lan's skin shimmered with iridescent patterns that reflected her complex emotions. "Then perhaps we'll redefine what humanity means," she replied. "After all, if we were engineered once before, as our research suggests, then transformation has always been part of our story." Kian nodded, gazing out at the colony that represented both humanity's past and its possible future. The last human colony was hiding not just from external threats, but from the profound questions their existence raised about what it meant to be human in a universe where even our most fundamental nature might be subject to change. As the sun set over the harsh landscape above, casting long shadows through the few openings in the cavern ceiling, Kian made a silent promise to himself. Whatever he discovered during his year with the colony, whatever truths emerged about human origins or potential, he would honor both the colony's need for safety and humanity's right to knowledge. The path forward would require wisdom, compassion, and courage, qualities that defined humanity far more than any genetic code ever could. In the soft, bioluminescent glow of the cavern city, Kian began his new journey, not as an explorer from Earth, but as a bridge between what humanity had been and what it might become.